What's next for the Golden State Warriors? The big question that everybody wants to know the answer to is if Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green are going to be back for next season, or is the dynasty over? You know, this is the thing that everybody's talking about, the dynasty being over. And when you look back at it, I mean, they're probably right. I know earlier on in the season, actually, I think after last season, after they won the championship, Bill Simmons, an NBA writer, said that the Warriors are not a dynasty, but I think the stats will prove that wrong. The Warriors under Steve Kerr were 16-0 in the Western Conference playoffs before their loss to the LA Lakers in 2023. Now, yes, those teams did look different at times. Some of those teams had Harrison Barnes, some of those teams had Kevin Durant, but we're not even gonna get into that in this video. Is this the end of the Big Three? Draymond Green is a free agent entering the new season, and everybody is wondering, will he be back? Draymond Green, after the loss to the Lakers, said that he wants to remain a Warrior. But earlier on in the season, there was so much drama with Draymond Green. Obviously, everybody knows about Jordan Poole and the contract extension situation between them, and how the Warriors decided to not extend Draymond, instead give it to Jordan Poole. Earlier on in the season, when asked, is he ever going to leave the Warriors, said that it's already written in stone. Now, at the time, a lot of people were kind of overreacting to this, but it seems like today we may have forgotten about it already. And I think just recently, maybe Draymond has changed his mind. I feel like a lot of Warriors fans might even be frustrated with Draymond Green right now because he did make a podcast and he does talk after every single loss in the playoffs. And not only that, he's been known to be like best friends with LeBron James. And there's proof of this. Earlier on in the season, it was reported that Draymond Green asked Steve Kerr to take some road games off so he could go see LeBron James break the record. Now, normally maybe this isn't a big deal, but the Warriors were struggling and they needed every single win they could get. So a lot of Warriors fans might have questioned his loyalty to the Warriors. But one thing you can't say about Draymond Green is that he doesn't play hard and that he doesn't play with passion. There's no other player in the NBA that's going to give the same passion to the Warriors than Draymond Green. So even though he might have his bad games or get in foul trouble or maybe hurt the team offensively, he's still a very valuable asset to the Golden State Warriors and is a big reason for the 4 championships that they have with the trio. Next, we're going to talk about Klay Thompson. The upcoming season is Klay Thompson's last year on his contract with the Golden State Warriors. This is Klay Thompson's first season in 3 years where he played basically the whole year. Obviously, Klay has been dealing with injuries. He had the big knee ACL injury and then the Achilles injury right after that. But he fought through all of that and ended up winning another championship with the Warriors after missing the start of that season. But this season for Klay Thompson was a little bit different. To start the season, Klay Thompson was a little bit cold or rusty. I don't know what it was. But a lot of Warriors fans were questioning his shot selection earlier on in the season and even today, later on in the season. Towards the beginning of the season, Klay Thompson was taking a lot of questionable threes and oftentimes missing them. And then Stephen Curry gets hurt. Around the time of Klay's struggles earlier on in the season, I'll admit, I was a doubter. I thought Klay Thompson was done. I didn't think he's ever going to be back to that Klay Thompson that he was before. And then Klay Thompson came out and said that he is still an all-star. And when he said this, I'm not going to lie, I kind of laughed because I didn't take him seriously. But right after he said this, he started playing like an all-star. He had a 50-point game, a couple 40-point games, high 30-point games, and was helping the Warriors win games without Stephen Curry. Jordan Poole was doing his thing too. The whole season was questioned when Stephen Curry went down with that first injury because the Warriors were already struggling this season. But Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole kinda kept the Warriors afloat and shocked a lot of people. Even some fans were saying the Warriors might be better without Stephen Curry. Now hold up. I know. Look where we're at today. Fast forward to the 2023 playoffs. Some will argue that Stephen Curry is the only player that showed up. Some were even saying that he's the only one that wanted to win and everybody else didn't care. Now, I don't think that's the truth, but I do think that Stephen Curry might have been the only one to show up. Yes, Stephen Curry wasn't shooting the best, but it's the playoffs that happens. Efficiency goes down in the playoffs, but he was still doing all the little things and giving the Lakers problems, including a 50-point game in Game 7 against the Sacramento Kings on the road, where the Warriors been struggling really bad. The Warriors finished the season with 11 wins on the road, and really they should have had 9. The last couple games they played a couple teams like the Portland Trailblazers that were resting everybody and kind of just gave them free wins. The Warriors were not good on the road this season. Now going into the playoffs, I feel like there was a lot of optimism and hope for the Warriors because it's the playoffs. The big three is healthy, the whole team is healthy, Andrew Wiggins is coming back, and the Warriors are going to step it up in the playoffs. And they came out the playoffs and lost 2 straight games in Sacramento. And I think a lot of people might have underestimated Sacramento, but they had a very good team, and that crowd was crazy. But the Warriors proved everybody wrong and took the Kings to Game 7 and beat them. And I think that is the start of where Jordan Poole started struggling. And I'm not going to start talking about Jordan Poole too much because I already made a whole video on that. If you haven't, go check that out. But I do want to start to think about other reasons the Warriors struggled this season outside of Jordan Poole. I feel like it's easy to say Klay Thompson didn't shoot good in the playoffs. That's a big reason the Warriors didn't do good. Jordan Poole was nowhere to be found in the playoffs, and Draymond Green was in foul trouble, getting suspended, and was not helping them out. Now Looney was doing his thing, getting 20 rebounds a game, but then he goes down and gets sick a little bit and kind of slows him down. But I think something that is very interesting to me is the lineups that Steve Kerr used this season. Earlier on in the season, the Warriors were not playing Moses Moody at all, and I was kind of questioning it the whole year because it seemed like in the past he was going to be an important part for that young core for the Golden State Warriors. Instead, they were playing a new player, Anthony Lamb, a two-way player, and Ty Jerome. Now, I didn't really get this, but sometimes Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome would have good games, and the Warriors ended up signing Anthony Lamb so he could be ready for the playoffs. Also, Jonathan Kuminga was a big part during the regular season for the Warriors. At times looked very, very good, and they wouldn't even trade him for Anunoby or nobody else. They didn't put him in any trade packages and pretty much said that he's untouchable. And it's funny because at the time, I think Warriors fans wanted the Warriors to trade Moody more than Kuminga. But then we fast forward to the playoffs and Kuminga doesn't play any minutes, and all of a sudden Moody is playing all the minutes. The Warriors end up trading James Wiseman, which was a big thing in itself earlier on the season, all of that drama. First we got the Jordan Poole drama that goes public, and then James Wiseman is kind of struggling, and it's looking like the Warriors picked the wrong person in the draft. So there was a lot of drama for the Warriors this season. I was watching Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond's interview after the game, and they were pretty much all saying that every season, including last season when they won the championship, there's always going to be some type of adversity that you have to fight through. But they said this season kind of felt like there was more of that. There was more negatives than positives. And they weren't afraid to talk about the Jordan Poole situation, including Draymond. He kind of mentioned it too. They didn't really include Jordan Poole's name, but they pretty much said that there was a lot of tension earlier on in the season, and Draymond said, quote, and it goes public, and that's what makes it tough. Now I want to shift over to something about Draymond. I want to talk about his podcast a little bit. I think there was a lot of Warriors fans that were frustrated with Draymond Green's podcast, and I feel like there might be a big majority of fans that believe that players shouldn't be having a life outside of basketball, and if they're not playing a game and their team's struggling, then they should be in the gym, not doing anything else. But I think a big reason why Draymond Green started this podcast was because he didn't get that contract extension. His money is in question. He's an older player. He doesn't know how much longer he's going to be in the league. So he started the podcast. On top of that, I think we all know that after Draymond retires, he's probably going to get into the TV business. So I don't think Warriors fans should be hating Draymond for this. Honestly, I think it's just a result of him not getting the contract. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about the Warriors' issues in the playoffs alone. I think a lot of fans would argue that they just didn't have size. Yes, they had Looney, who kind of dominated Sabonis and was getting 20 rebounds a game at times. But the Draymond Green starting five is starting to get tough when you go against bigger teams like the Lakers and Anthony Davis. And you can't really rely on shooting too much in the playoffs when you're just getting constantly beaten down on the defensive end. You're gonna get tired. Mental fatigue, physical fatigue. Even Klay Thompson alluded to it in the playoffs when asked about his struggle shooting. He just said, I think there was just a lot of mental fatigue, and that might have been because of the Lakers defensively and their size on offense. So I think a big fix for the Warriors in the offseason is to go after some size. Now, it's interesting what they're going to do with Jonathan Kuminga because there's been a lot of leaks and people were looking at his Twitter likes. And it looks like Jonathan is not happy with the minutes that he's been getting, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Warriors handle that situation because I'm pretty sure he's only 20 years old. So a very young player in the NBA getting frustrated because he's not playing isn't nothing new, but we'll see how the Warriors handle that because he might have a reason to get angry. A lot of Warriors fans want to talk about Jordan Poole, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Warriors fans want him traded next season. So we're going to see if Draymond is going to leave the team or if Poole is going to get traded, or maybe both happen. But let's look at what the Warriors can do right now. Looking up at this free agency class, I think the Warriors would benefit from some stretch bigs. Now, some Warriors fans were talking to me and they gave me their opinion on who they think the Warriors should sign in the offseason. One of these players is Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez played for the Bucks this season, was arguably one of the defensive players of the year, and is shooting the ball very good now. He might be a little bit slow and maybe not be able to fit in with the Warriors system because they play so fast, but maybe it's time for a little switch up in the pace that the Warriors play with, and maybe they should go a little bit more size. I think that's what the Warriors thought James Wiseman would be, a stretch big, but James really didn't get going at all. Another player that the Warriors were talking about is Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic is still one of the most underrated players in the NBA. His stats still look very good, although there are some Bulls fans that don't really like him too much for whatever reason, and I think Vucevic just needs to be put in the right situation. I think the Bulls are just a very weird offensive team. They like to take a lot of mid-range shots. They do have Zach LaVine and Kobe White to stretch the floor, but they don't really got the best shooters on their team, so I think that kind of hurts Vucevic in a way. And you look back earlier on in the season and Vucevic got his career high on the Warriors this year. So maybe the Warriors can add some size in free agency. Maybe they could trade Jordan Poole and get something out of that. I know people are talking about Markelle Fultz, but who knows if the Magic are even going to do that. I also heard maybe a good destination for Jordan Poole is the Hornets alongside with LaMelo Ball, and maybe the Warriors could get back Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward in the process, and maybe in free agency they sign a stretch big like Brook Lopez or Nikola Vucevic. As for everything else, like Klay Thompson on his last year of his contract and Draymond Green on his expiring deal, a free agent in the offseason, we'll see what the Warriors are going to do, but I want to know what you think they should do down below in the comment section. Be sure to remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and hit that subscribe button for more. Turn on post notifications so you do not miss out on future videos. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is ZTAY. Peace.